So, welcome to the podcast show today, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun with my guest today, Patrick Woodcraft, and it's just so fabulous to have you here, live and looking fabulous, all the way from Bali. So, thanks for joining us, Patrick. I know we're going to some really, really great tips that are going to come out of today. But Patrick was someone that I met at iLab in Bali, and he and his cohorts, John and Scott, sat round the table with me in the wood ballet, wasn't it, Patrick?
Yep.
Yeah, it was nice, yeah.
Dynamo.
And gave me some really great insights into what else I could be doing with my business. And I was so impressed with the feedback and the information that they gave me that I really thought that this would be a great thing for you guys to benefit from as well. So I'm really excited that Patrick said yes to being on the call today. So Patrick, why don't you give us a little bit of a tell us about Patrick moment where you tell us, like, how did you get into this and what you're doing, and you know, what is it you love about, you know, helping business owners with sales like you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, Catherine, thank you so much for having me on the show. Such an honor. And, you know, we're just so impressed with everything that you're doing, everything that you're creating, and really, you know, where you come from in all of this. It's just, I mean, you're an inspiration. So it's such a pleasure to be here and, you know, invest this time together. And I'm glad that we could make this happen.
Yay.
So, yeah, really, thank you. For me, we you know, I've been in sales forever, basically. I've done lots of different roles, lots of different ways of doing it. All the history and all the mentoring and all the training and all the stuff. And it was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago now, we were, you know, in partnership with John, as you mentioned. And John is a brilliant marketer, and he's great at getting people to put their hands up and say, oh, that's me. I'm that guy. I'm that girl with that problem. I'm looking for that solution right now. Pick me. Right. But then, and like good internet marketers, he was getting like probably, you know, between 1% and 3% conversion from his list on any campaign that he'd run into actually ended up buying something, right? Which is great for, you know, internet marketing kind of results. And in sales, obviously, that's not a great result. So I looked at his business and said, what if we actually call people instead of just click here to buy now, and actually put a conversation into the funnel and said, you know, how about, did you have any questions? Can we? Very often people just say, I wanted to know if I could bring my mum, because it didn't say anything about mums on the landing page. So, right. And then we got another 2. Yeah, of course, bring your mum. It's great. So all of a sudden, what happened was our conversions went from kind of 1 or 3% to like 25 or 30%.
Wow.
By just adding in a conversation. And we went, isn't that interesting? Right. So, yeah, this was super exciting. And then probably we'd been doing that, you know, John and I have been working together for years, and, you know, running campaigns, making sales, making money. And it was fantastic. And I guess I was kind of getting bored in a way, because we just kept doing the same thing. And I said, look, it would be great to be doing it with some other people, so we could like high five and go, yeah, did you hear what I said? You know, that was really cool. And we've changed some lives and we're helping some people, and I'll get to the purpose of it all in a sec. So we hired a couple of sales guys. I did a little recruitment campaign and hired a few people and said, look, I'm going to teach you and train you and show you all the stuff that I've learned over the years. And basically you have to be better than me. That's the outcome here. I'm going to give you everything that I've ever learned and the best of everything that I've ever done. And, you know, if you can't take that and add your own flavor to it and make it something greater, then what's the point, right? You have to be better than me. And they're both at that level now. That was almost coming up, just over 18 months ago. And those 2 guys are still working with me, and it's more fun, right? And we've had other people come and go. We're building the team, but those 2 guys stayed with us the whole time. And we're just about to launch into another campaign right now. Today we're launching into a new campaign. So it's super exciting. They were all around here yesterday, and we're brainstorming, and we're, you know, writing our scripts and our conversation flows, and we're mapping out our email templates and doing all the different things that we need to prepare for the campaign. So
there's a couple of things in there that I think are really fantastic, Patrick, and one of them that I'm hearing loud and clear is the fact that you have a skill set that's very needed in the business that I'm in, certainly in regards to getting sales across the line. And there is that massive difference between the 1 to 3% conversion and the 20 to 30% conversion. I mean, you know, we're talking entire lifestyle change based on those kind of results. And very interesting, actually, because I've actually just witnessed some friends of mine go through some launches, and go through some launches with some of them have gone through the launches with having the sales conversation, and some have gone without having the sales conversation, and it's been amazing to see the difference. But also, I loved what you also said too about bringing on the team. So it's not just you doing it. From what I'm hearing, you're saying that you've taught your team everything that you know, so that they can then go and be better than you. And I think that's wise in itself. So I'm really looking forward, Patrick, to you telling us everything that you know.
All right.
Because I think it's going to be really valuable to our listeners.
This is really cool about the team, because I mean the whole point was we could grow the team and make more sales and more money, and that totally wasn't the point at all. The point was, I'm bored doing it by myself. I want to be able to teach what I've learned and high five some guys and have some fun. And what do you know? We make more sales and more money in the process, right? So that was. So what happened though? Actually, it's really interesting you mentioned, because what happened with the team when we first recruited these guys and I trained them, I said, listen, this is how I sell. Here's the scripts, here's what I say, and here's the process, and off you go and do it. And we've got some leads, we've got some prospects, and let's go and have some conversations. And then, we check back in each day, and I was helping them. And after about a week, I said, all that stuff I told you last week in the training, the initial training, that is, what I do and how I do it and what we say. I've been watching and listening to myself, and I don't really do that at all anymore. That was actually all stuff from my old sales trainers, my old mentors. It was all old paradigm selling stuff that I thought I was doing, that I started out doing, but I'm not actually doing that anymore. So here's what I'm actually doing, right? Quite different. And they went off for another week and, got some results, and I went off for another week and got some results. We came back and we checked in. I said, that stuff I told you last week, that was what I was actually doing, and it wasn't. Yeah, that's not it either. This is what I'm actually this 3 months, Catherine, before I cut through all the layers of training and indoctrination and all the old paradigm sales stuff, which I can share with you about what that looks like. Before I really got to, this is what I actually do, right? And now we've spent the last year refining that and polishing that and really getting to the heart of that. And really what it's about is how do you sell from the heart without being salesy, and realize that you're connecting with another human being and your intention is to serve them at the highest level. And that's it, right? So how do you structure that conversation in a way that's going to serve them at the highest level? I said to the guys when they started, I said, listen, and I say this all the time in sales trainings, you don't have to use a sales script if you don't want to. That's fine. If you'd rather sound like you don't know what you're talking about, that's fine by me. Right? So the point was to use a sales script. But then we started working with business owners and training them in how to make sales. And I realized these people really know what they're talking about. So the script is just going to get in the way. It's actually going to slow them down. It's kind of clunky. So then I went full circle and went, you don't need a script at all. If you know what you're talking about, then just go for it. And then that wasn't working either, because then they weren't following a process. Right. So now we've got a more holistic approach that says if you're new, here's the script, follow it word for word, and just follow it, right? And after your first few hundred conversations, or your first, once you get comfortable with it, you're going to start to add in your own flavor and your own personality, and you'll start to understand why the elements are there, and you'll use them in your own way, and that's great. If you already understand your content, you know what's working, you really get this stuff, or whatever it is that you're talking about, then we don't use a script at all, because we know it's going to just slow you down and fluff you up. We just map out the conversation in like a conversation flow. And we look at the main stages that the conversation has to pass through in order to get to an outcome that's going to serve you and your prospect at the highest level. And those stages are pretty consistent with any kind of conversation and how it works. And a lot of the opening of the conversation, it's actually based on biology, the actual shape of the human brain, not so much just psychology and what we talk about in sales psychology and that kind of thing a lot. But really, we're looking at the different parts of the brain that you need to unlock to be able to move forward in the conversation. And I'm super happy to get into as much detail as you want on that.
That sounds, excuse me, that sounds absolutely fascinating, Patrick. That what you're doing is you're actually taking the sales concept and turning it into something really juicy, because you're right. We've all got access to sales scripts that if we've done our homework, then, we've paid for something along the line that guides us in some way as to the conversion conversation. So, but you mentioned about tapping into the various parts of the brain. I'd love for you to expand on that.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I mean, I guess the preface for all of this is that if you look at the different parts of your business, all the different departments, if you're running a big corporation that's split up into different departments with GMs and whatever, or if it's just you as a solo entrepreneur and you're doing everything, you put on different hats at different times a day, and you've got your visionary, and you're creating the vision and the purpose and why you're even in business in the first place, and you've got to spend some time there. Then you've got time in research and development, in content creation, in business model structure and planning. You've got HR, recruitment and training. You've got sales and marketing, of course. And then you move right around to like logistics, delivery, distribution, production, manufacturing, all those kind of process-driven roles. And then you get your steely energy stuff, which is finance, accounts, administration, invoicing, all the back-end systems and processes of your business. So if you look at all those different elements of your business and go, look, they're all important. They all need to be done, and they all need to be done well for you to be ultimately to be successful. But if you look at all of them and ask the question, what's the only activity in my business that actually brings in new revenue and new money so that the entire enterprise can actually be sustainable and do the good work that we came here to do? One activity starts with S, ends in ales, right?
Right, yes.
Because if you look at every other activity in your business from that point of view, is actually an expense. And sales, and to a lesser extent marketing, are the only activities that directly bring in new clients, new revenue, new money, so that your business can actually be sustainable. Without that, you don't have a business. Right? And it's funny that people very often we talk to business owners and they're going, look, I want to develop great products and you go, well, that's important. It's good to have good products. But we look at so many billion-dollar corporations on the planet with rubbish products. Right? And we look at so many companies with amazing products that never see commercial viability. They never see the light of day and never make it because their sales and marketing was no good. Right? So if you have good products, you get your sales and marketing sorted, you're going to get your delivery and distribution, all your logistics and your finance, accounts, administration, all that. You're going to get that sorted if you've got enough money and clients coming in. If you've got too much money and clients coming in, and this is an issue, then let's get it fixed, right? And you've got money and cash flow, and you can do it. But without the sales,
yes, so true, isn't it? It's one of the things that I tell my clients, actually, Patrick, that there's no problem in business that can't be solved by a good sale or two. It changes everything. How you feel about your business. It changes how you show up. It changes your enthusiasm. And you're having a conversation actually just today with a fellow entrepreneur who's in a bit of a funk. And this funk's come about because of the lack of sales that are coming through the door, and so we strategized around what she can do to get on top of that, and again it comes down to that sales conversation. So Patrick, this question's coming, right? What's the difference between your sales conversation and the ones that that most people in sales have been programmed? Literally, it's programming, isn't it?
My favorite to do. Good one. So I mean, really, what's going on, Catherine, and the reason so many small business owners and entrepreneurs want to avoid that sales conversation is because we haven't all had an awful sales experience. Either where we've been sold by boring from Boringsville, and I'm calling to bore you for as long as possible, and your job's to get me off the phone as soon as possible so I can go and bore somebody else. I hate my life, right? And that call, and it's like, oh, get me out of this, right? Or the other one you get is annoying from Annoyings Corp, and he's just rattling through his script and doesn't even say, how are you today? And I'm here for calling from, and doesn't even wait for you to answer before and it's like, well, why? It's awful, right? And like one of my clients said to me the other day, she said, Pat, I hate those calls because they turn me into someone I don't like to be because I've got to be rude just to get off the phone. And that's not, it's like, and the whole thing, I mean, Seth Godin talks about permission marketing in his blog, right? So he says, if the person you're marketing to, or calling in this case, would have missed you if you didn't show up, then you have permission. What he's saying is, don't cold call, don't spam. If you don't have permission to be talking to them, don't talk to them. Right? And that's why John and I work so well together, because everyone we talk to, we don't do cold calling at all. They're putting their hand up going, that's me. I want to talk about that. I'm interested in that. I've got that problem. I'm looking for that solution. So the question then for marketing becomes, how do you engage your prospects? How do you, your audience, your target market, how do you get them to put their hand up and to nominate themselves, or how can you flag them? Because we know, for that person we were just speaking to today, and for everybody else who's having an issue with sales, there is dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of people in their city, let alone in their country, and let alone on the web, who would give them money for their product or service today if they could just identify them and get them to flag them somehow and somehow engage them in a conversation. So that's the marketing story, right?
Okay.
And that's, John is brilliant with that. I definitely recommend you see if you can tee up an interview, and he will tell you all the different ways that we do that, and it's amazing.
Wonderful.
When you've got that and you actually have someone in front of you, then, and a sales conversation, right?
Yeah.
So then we need to look at what is the most appropriate medium or setting or scene for that conversation to happen in. We do a lot of our work. We've got a global audience, so we do a lot of our work over the phone and VoIP and Skype, and we use these kind of things. And most of our, 99% of our sales more come from telephone conversations, and that's a specific kind of way that we do that, and that's fine. And we can share all that. However, you might be looking at, hey, I want to do webinars, and I'm going to sell in conversation. I've got people putting their hand up and they're coming onto a webinar, and that's a great way to do it because you get to speak to a bunch of people at once, and it's more of a presentation, it's more of a pitch and less of a conversation. That's fine. Or you might want to do one-on-one. Hey, let's meet up for coffee. Let's do lunch, right? And if you're only looking for a handful of prospects and a small number of sales, but they're high ticket sales and it's a high trust kind of thing, and you're doing, you're selling properties, or you're selling, something that's big expense, then that's appropriate to do. You can, because you can't really do lunch with 50 people a day, right? You do hundreds on a webinar. You can do, 10, 20, 30 calls a day is quite comfortable for a busy business owner. But meeting up for coffee or lunch, half a dozen is a big day. By the time you drive over town and meet and get the park, and then they're late, and all the stuff. So you just look at what's going to be the appropriate way. And for many people, I mean, you've got a product that's under $100. You don't even want to have a conversation around that. It's just click here to buy now, right? And this whole sales conversation can happen in a video or a recorded thing, or just in a letter or an email or a text or whatever it is. So whatever scene you've got for your sales conversation, the steps are kind of similar, right? And this is really getting to all prefacing the question you asked is, what's that conversation need to look at what's happening in the brain and what's really going on there, right? So I look at the work of a guy whose name is coming to me. He'll come to me shortly. I haven't thought of him for a bit. And he's done a 20-year study in psychology of what actually does this. And really what it comes down to, the 3 levels of the brain, right? We've got the old crocodile brain that they talk about, which is the limbic brain. And it's emotional. It has no capacity for language or reason or abstract thinking or any of that, but it's just our primal instincts. And then you've got like the middle brain, which is all about social connections, social relevance, tribe, who's my community, who's my people, where do I feel safe, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, we've got this little strip on the top called the neocortex, which is the modern brain, which is where all our logical, rational thinking and all our, creativity and abstract thinking and problem solving, all this kind of stuff happens up here. And language all happens up here, right? When you're engaging someone in a sales conversation, more often than not, salespeople and sales scripts are developed from the neocortex to communicate to another neocortex. The problem is when you sit down with a prospect, or you call someone, or you start this conversation, you're not there yet.
Right.
You don't start there, because these 2 parts of the brain are the gatekeepers to the neocortex. Until you get through those and get them to open, you don't even get to have an intelligent conversation. Right? And ever had this experience where you call someone and they go, thanks, but I'm not interested?
Well, they haven't had the chance to know you, to like you, to trust you, right, to build that rapport. And exactly, you're right. It's that whole, the limbic brain comes in with the old belief systems of like, well, I don't trust you, I don't know you, people like you have, wasted my time before. Absolutely. Or, if you've got a theory that's going to take money from me, then you're just being greedy. They have all of these imposed ideas.
What we can take is all that and put it into one box, which is, if I can predict the end of this conversation at the beginning of the conversation, I'm not going to have the conversation.
Right.
If I think I know where this is going, I'm out. Right? If it's not where I want, I'm finished. So what the limbic brain responds to is, essentially, it's the fight or flight brain, right? It's what is this new thing in my life? Is it a potential mate? Is it potential food, or is it a threat? Should I eat it? Should I kill it? Should I mate with it? Right? That's all it wants to know. It's just looking at that all the time. So
I like that. Should I eat it? Should I kill it? Should I mate with it?
I'm not a threat. You're not going to eat me. I'm not going to eat you. It's none of that. Right? So what stands out to it, and what it will notice is, if it's made a decision on something before, it won't make a new decision on it. It'll say, yeah, I've heard this before. Boom, I'm done. I'm out
Mm,
immediately.
mm,
And there's no language to explain that. And if you push them for, hey, tell me why, and can you explain it? Right?
mm,
Because it doesn't have language. It just goes, we're done here. I can
mm,
predict the end of the call. So the first thing is to be novel in your approach, right? This whole thing about, I'm not interested. It's really easy to never hear that. Be interesting, right?
right. Yay. Nice. Yeah.
Right. We'll get into how. Remind me of how to be interesting, right? How to.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
But let me finish this story first.
Beautiful.
So first, it's got to be novel. It's got to be something new. I haven't seen this before. Who? What? What is this? I'm interested. It's got to be
Okay.
fast. It's got to be bright. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be like something new, right? So you imagine you're cruising through the forest and you're on red alert for something that's going to eat you. You're looking out for food and potentially a mate and all this stuff. And you see a tree that you've seen every time you've walked down this path. You don't even notice it. You're just going to walk past it, right? So if you've already made a decision that thing's not a threat, it's not food, you're just going to block it out and keep walking. But if a bird swoops down really fast right in front of your path, whoa, you're going to notice that because it was quick. Or something rustles in the bushes and if it's moving fast, the limbic brain automatically goes zone in on that, right? So if we're fast, if we're novel in the approach, we get straight to the point. It's exciting, it's interesting, it's engaging, it's a bit fascinating in some way. I'm going to pay attention, and immediately we can unlock the limbic brain and move into the middle brain. Right? Now, this guy is all about social relevance and vibe and community and connection. So this is where you're building trust and rapport, which is very often the first thing that salespeople go for, right? Which is actually the second thing. But when you want to get into that one, then it's like, how do I make this conversation immediately relevant to the challenge that you have right now? Now, if they've put their hand up, say, I've got that challenge, right? You can go straight to that. And that's a great way to engage the conversation.
Yeah.
And then finally, that will unlock the neocortex. So you can actually have an intelligent conversation with somebody. But until you've unlocked those two gatekeepers, that's it. That's the job. So that's kind of the process. And like I said, it's in biology because of the actual shape of the brain and the way that we've developed as humans. And our psychology reflects that, and our conversations need to reflect that to be successful. Is that interesting? Is that helpful?
That's really interesting.
It's quite cool.
Huh? My brain is just going into working my way through the different and various ways that we can make things new and fast and interesting and bright and exciting. And of course, that's exactly what you did when I had my initial conversation with you, Patrick. So what's wonderful is I've got first-hand comparisons to exactly what you're talking about. So I understand it, so I came into your zone of influence, if you like, through the iLab competition. I was recommended the iLab competition by a very good friend of mine who is Otina Osborne, who also lives in Bali. And she sent me the link, which you and Patrick had worked on, and Simone, of course, and John, sorry, and you had a short time frame on it, right? So there was a apply by this date, and you could go ahead into the scholarship. And once you've been accepted, then you had a conversation to make sure that you were the right fit. Well, immediately I followed all the steps. I met the deadline of July 22nd, I think it was. I put together my video, and just walking through in my mind the relevance of this whole conversation that we're having now, because what you did was you made it exciting. Oh my gosh, I've been accepted. All I have to do is say yes to the scholarship. Once I've had the interview, I can't wait. And if you remember rightly, Patrick, we had an awesome conversation where you didn't have to do any selling, because as far as I was concerned, the process that you'd gone through had already sold. However, what you did was you were very interested in me. You were very, literally you made it fun. You kept it really moving fast, and we had a great conversation. So, okay, so this is really, really important.
Would you like to break that down, have a look at a bit behind the scenes of what actually went on? Because it's true, you've had that experience, and it's exactly what we're talking about. And what you've experienced wasn't boring from Boringsville or annoying from Annoyance Corp, right? And it wasn't salesy or manipulative or slippery or slimy, or, it was just a beautiful conversation between two human beings that clearly cared for each other and, I really wanted to get where you're coming from. And I think the best way to get into this is to have a look at the old paradigm for selling and something that we've all had an experience with. And then we'll have a look at how we open the conversation up and the ways to fascinate, and we can do that one as well. So the first part is, you remember Glenn Ross, Alec Baldwin, right? And he comes down to the sales office, the movie, right, back from that, and he comes down and he's lecturing the salespeople. He's giving him a pep talk. You're all fired, right? Good news is you got 7 days to get your jobs back. So it's sell or walk, pal, right? And he's giving him this big classic. And we don't do it this way, right? But it's just definitely, it's so funny. It's contrast on YouTube. So the first thing he says is ABC. A, always, B, C, closing. Always be closing, right? We'll see. Did I close you, Catherine, ever? The conversation's still open. The dialogue's still open, right? The relationship still open. I opened the door and let you go through it. There was no closing of anything ever at any point, right? I took your payment details and we got the thing organized and processed everything, and there was no closing. So the next thing he talks about is the IATA system, and this is what average sales managers have been pushing on their subjecting their sales teams to ever since, and even before that, which is AIDA, which is attention, interest, decision, action, which is kind of a logical flow, and it makes sense, except it's the exact reverse of what happens in what I call natural human interactions. Right? So A, attention. He says you've got to grab the prospect's attention. I, interest. Get them interested in what you want to talk about. D, get them to make a decision. It's buy or walk. And then action. Get them to take some action. It kind of makes sense, right? And if you're better, you'd think, well, that makes sense. Let's do that. Like I said, it's the full reverse. So what I do is I didn't try to get your attention for a second. All I did, Catherine, was showed you that you had my attention. Oh, Catherine Newton? Is that you? Wow, you're the very woman I'm looking for. You've got a scholar. You're the winner. You had my attention right from the start, right? And then I didn't try to get you interested in what I wanted to talk about. Let me tell you about my product. It's so good, and we're so smart, and we've got so many great features and benefits. Forget it. I'm interested in what you want to talk about. Tell me about you. Tell me about your business. Tell me about your community. Tell me about the work that you're doing. How'd you get into that? Why? I'm really interested. And then it's a decision, and I'm not trying to get you to make a decision to buy my thing. I talk about transformational sales as opposed to transactional sales. So in the old model of transactional sales that all this old paradigm kind of typifies, it's you're trying to get your prospect to make a decision to buy your product or service. Right? Here's my thing. It's really shiny and awesome. Buy my thing. Make a decision, yes or no. Right? In transformational sales, I'm not getting anything. I'm trying to give straight away. I'm not trying. I'm giving. I'm giving my prospects an opportunity to make a decision to transform an area of their life. Catherine, you're ready to get this business thing sorted once and for all? Absolutely. Right? Because I know when you make that decision, very often you're going to take some action off the back of that decision. And one of the actions you may well take is to buy my thing. And I'm not attached to that at all, because if that's what's going to serve you best, then that's what you're going to do. And if something else is going to serve you best, then I'm going to recommend you go and do something else. Because my intention here is to support you and give you the opportunity to make this decision. Are you ready to get this thing sorted once and for all? Your health, your relationships, your business, whatever it is that my program's going to support you with. So that's the kind of paradigm shift that we're talking about, right? And this is why I talk about selling from the heart. And when we talk about superpowers, right? And if someone's got like a superpower for healing, it's hard to use that for evil, right? They're kind of always going to be doing good with that. But if you've got a superpower around language and communication and influence, it's very easy to use that for evil, right? And it's very easy to use it for good. It's just a decision. So I'm looking for people who are really wanting to make a positive impact on the world and transform their clients' life and do extraordinary things and really develop that power and use it for good. They're the people that I love.
Nice. And when you say that, that I can feel it. It's like, it's almost like as the listener of the conversation that you've just been just what you've been sharing with us. I almost want to step forward, like, oh, that sounds amazing. How do I be part of that? And that's what you're talking about, isn't it? Yep. It's because you've given us some information that sounds so interesting to us, because you've listened to what we've been talking about. You've heard what our needs are and what our passion is, and then you've you've literally expanded on the conversation by saying, hey, look, love for you to walk through this journey and help you do more of that, because wouldn't that be amazing for your clients who are here to serve? Yeah, that's beautiful.
Sometimes we do. Sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's a wrong number, and we've got to say, hey, we've got this phrase. It's called "You're not my client." Right? We don't say that. We let them know gently, but essentially that's what's going on, and we need to be very clear who our clients are and who we can actually serve. So for you, it's a total no-brainer. Right? It was obvious. You're ready, and this was the obvious next steps. But for many people, it's, hey, you need to go and do something else first. You're not ready, or you're beyond this. You don't need this. You've already got this stuff covered. You should go and do something else. And just being really clear on who your client is, so that when you see them, you recognize them. You can say, hey, I built this program for you. This is it. This is the thing. This is the next step. And not, hey, we're trying to be something for everything, for everybody.
Yeah, nice. So a lot of the clients that I work with, Patrick, they follow a similar business model to myself, where they take their expertise and they encourage them to do workshops, to stand in front of a large audience, to sell their products. Yeah, it works. It's a great system for bringing funds into the business and reaching as many people as possible, providing that opportunity for them to trust you. So I'd love to hear around, what would it take for people to stop leaving money on the table when they are at events or at workshops and they're trying to close the sale? Because I see all the time that there's just something that's missing. I mean, a lot of it has to do with confidence, I think, too. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that. But love your tips on how can people stop leaving money on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge thing, and we see it all the time where there's someone sitting in front of you. They put their hand up. They said, "I'm ready," and then where the sell comes in. If you're ever actually going to sell somebody anything, right? The only thing we're ever selling is, I'm never selling, hey, buy my thing. Obviously, I'm not even selling, invest in my program or invest in my product. I'm selling, invest in yourself, right? And that's really what's going on. And the only objection, right? I'm sorry, objection handling includes. But the heart of all of it is that as your prospect, if I was at your event, I don't believe in myself. I don't back myself. I'm not going to invest myself because I'm scared. I'm not sure that I'm good enough. I'm not sure that I'm worthy to have the success, the lifestyle that I desire and deserve, the health, the relationship, the whatever it is that I say I'd love. And I'm scared that if I got that, it's all their own emotional stuff. And we know they've got some stuff, because if they didn't, they'd have the thing that you're promising that they came to you for, right? And it's that stuff that's held them back their whole life. And that's the reason why they're there. They've come to you. It's not, it's so anytime we're selling, it's like, how can I support this person to actually get over all that stuff and back themselves and invest in themselves and believe in themselves enough to make that decision to say, you know what, I'm ready, I'm worthy, I'm going to get this thing sorted once and for all. I'm doing this. And actually invest in themselves and believe in themselves enough to make that decision and do that, take that action. That's the whole sell. That is the only objection at the end of the day. Now, what they're going to tell you is, it sounds great. I need to check with my partner, or I need to, transfer some funds on my credit card, or the timing's not right, or, I can't afford it, or all this other fluff and nonsense. It's nothing to do with reality. The reality is I'm scared and I don't think I'm worthy. I can't have it. Right. So what we want to do is whatever they're giving you, is go, all right, how do we, just kind of move that out of the conversation in a way that's elegant and respectful, and get to what's really going on. Because until we get to this issue, nothing's going to happen. Now, with you didn't have a lot of that stuff, because you were very clear on where you're headed and who you are, and you went, right, this is an obvious next step. You had a few logistical questions we had to work through and whatever, and then we went straight there. But very often, people will put their hand up for something, going, I really want that end result. I want that outcome. Right? But I want it to be out in the future, and I want to keep wanting it, because you got to understand, the ego wants to want more than it wants to have. Right? The ego wants to want more than it wants to have. So when you say you could actually have this, they go, oh no, I just want it.
Good point.
It's the insanity of the whole thing. So I'm going to give you a few little language sets, and this is well advanced in the conversation. So we've skipped right over the whole intro, and we're right into the neocortex stuff and the whole tribal stuff, and we're getting into the conversation. And we're at the point where we've invited someone to buy. Said, hey, listen, this is going to be perfect for you for all the reasons that we've discussed. You absolutely should do it. And I'd say the first thing would be let's take it from start, because we'll get to that. We'll get to that. The first thing is can I do that? Can I do the conversation in order as the conversation would actually go?
Yeah, that sounds great.
To that?
Yeah.
So the first thing I'd encourage anybody who's interested in actually engaging people in conversation, go and check out, there's a chick called Sally Hogshead in the States. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she said, kids can be cruel, and with a name like Hogshead growing up, you get a bit of an interesting perspective on life and some interesting experiences, as you can imagine, which is to really be fascinated with this idea of, when you meet somebody and you go, wow, they're just fascinating. What is it about them? And then you meet other people and you go, I don't want to know what it is about them. You know what I mean? I'm just not interested at all. And she said, what is it that makes the difference? So she's done a 10-year study on psychology and research and done a huge volume of work on what it is that makes someone fascinating and someone less fascinating, right? And what she's discovered is that there's 7 triggers to fascination, what she calls the 7 ways to fascinate, or the 7 triggers to fascination. So when I started training the sales team, for example, Catherine, I said, this is how I do it. This is how I open a conversation. You need to say what I say because it works. And they say, I'm not comfortable saying that. I wouldn't ever want to say that. And that's not how I engage with people in the real world. I say, well, that's because you suck and I'm awesome. Say what I say and you'll get the results that I get.
Right.
Right. And then they were uncomfortable. It was awkward. And because I was, awesome from Awesomeville, right? And we're just pumping it up and having a whole lot of fun because that was my natural flavor. And that's what was fascinating about me. When they tried to do that, it wasn't what was fascinating about them, and it was kind of weird and awkward. What was working for them when I tried, so well, that's working for you. Maybe I should give it a go. And that was weird and awkward for me, right? A bigger personality and a different way of doing it. So anyway, the 7 triggers for fascination. She talks about the first one's innovation. This is a creative approach. This is something that really gets people's attention because it's so novel and so interesting. And I remember I was in a training in a call center one time, and they were literally calling through the phone book to sell finance and mortgage packages and whatever it was. And it's an awful job. And I sat in the call center for a while. They didn't know who I was, and I was working with the owners and listened into a conversation and said, can I make some of these calls? And they were going, hi, boring from Boyingsville. I hate my life. Finance, okay, 6 calls in a row. Hi, Mrs. Smith, have you seen the sunset this evening? No, it wasn't even hi, Mrs. Smith. Have you seen the sunset this evening? Oh my God. I'm going to call you back in 2 minutes. So I have a look at the sunset. You tell me it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. Hang up. I'll call back 2 minutes later. Did you see it? Is that you, Steve? We're into a conversation. Before we wouldn't have been, I guarantee it. I'm not suggesting that's a great approach. It's an example of innovation.
Yeah, nice.
An example of how can you open this conversation up in a way that's going, what's happening? Right. The second one is passion.
Nice. Yeah.
She's not talking about suffering, right? The passion. She's talking about like this excited, enthusiastic, energetic kind of approach, which you might get is probably a bit of a major one for me, right? The next one is power. So this is, you might get a call from, hi, it's Agent Smith from the tax office. You're up for an audit. Well, you've got my attention, right? Woo! Okay, so that's an example of how to use power. There's prestige. So imagine, Catherine, if you got a call, oh, hi, Catherine, it's Roger Hamilton here. Have you got a few minutes to chat, right? Hi, it's Trump calling from Trump Towers. Can I, it's like, yes, Donald, what can I do for you? Right? Because he's got a level of, he's set the standard. He plays the game.
Yeah, totally.
You've got to make that time available, right?
Yeah.
Prestige. There's trust, which is a beautiful one. These people just naturally, you want to trust them. You want to build connection. Now, if it's the first time you've ever had a conversation with someone, you may not have a lot of prestige or trust, but you can leverage off someone else's prestige or trust. You might remember in our call, I said, hey, Catherine, Roger Hamilton has asked me to call you personally about your application in the Global Impact Awards. Woo, I was leveraging Roger's prestige and Roger's trust, because between you and I, there was no prestige, there was no trust. You didn't know me from a bar of soap. Right? So I came back, Woodcraft, you're like, who is this guy? What's the relevance of this to me? Oh, Roger Hamilton's. Oh, right, straight away, you're in. The next two I don't use a lot, but they have their place as well. They're Mystique and Alert, the final two. So Mystique talks about communicating with precision or carefully. So these are the people who you're having a whole big conversation, you've been chatting and laughing and having a good old chat in a meeting or a social setting or whatever it is for like an hour, and they haven't said two words. And then someone says something and they lean forward and say, oh, really? And you go, what do you mean, oh, really? Do you mean like, oh, really, oh, really? Or like, oh, really, oh, really? Right? And then they don't say anything. They just go, And they're fascinating because what's going on? What are they? Right?
I see. So that's the mistake part of it, right?
This is my dormant trigger, right? This is the one that if I try and use it, it just looks weird and awkward. And why is Pat so quiet? Is he sick? Like, what's going on?
Right, because that's not your personality type, because you normally speak up. Right, I see. So you got to just work in with your personality type around you.
And the last one's alert. This is like fire or stop police or like bah, like something. This is a nothing dramatic. So I've just realized my battery's about to go flat. So let me just pause for 2 seconds. And
okay, sure. Yes, you carry on doing that. So I'll just do a quick little review then of what we've been going through with Patrick. Just been really fascinating actually to hear Patrick talk about the process of heart-centered selling, and to give us tips on what it takes to have that conversation flow. Everything from understanding about the limbic brain, the different stages of the brain, right through to getting permission-based marketing and what it takes to do that. And I've particularly enjoyed the part where you've talked about, the whole aspect of how to be interesting when it comes to creating that sale. So let's talk now, if I may, Patrick, about the actual handing over of the credit card details, because I know that that's a big thing for a lot of people when they say, the $5,000. Thank you very much. How would you like to?
What's going on there?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's this all of this stuff, and I see it time and time again with clients I work with where they get at the front of the room and there's that when they mention the price or when they mention the actual, this is what you do to get it across the line. And look, I've been guilty of that myself, Petra, I don't mind saying that in the past I've had to do a lot of work around my money stuff so that I can confidently stand up in front of a room and say, this is how much it's going to be, and build that rapport and exactly, and to be okay with that. I'd love to hear your perspective on getting that final, and so and making it as easy as asking someone to pass the salt across the table. How would you?
Perfect. So there's two parts to this, Catherine. It's a super great question and you hit the nail on the head exactly. The first part is the words that you say and how you actually please pass the salt, right? Because it's that simple. And the only reason it's so easy to ask someone to pass the salt is because you're totally okay receiving the salt. It's who you are and how you're showing up in the conversation. So that's the most important part to all of this. If I give you the best words for the best clothes to ask for the best way for the $5,000 and the sneakiest, trickiest ninja NLP, whatever, right? But you're not okay with receiving $5,000 you're not okay with the value of your product and your service, you're going to fluff it up no matter how good the script is. Right? And if you've got a terrible script and terrible languaging and you're awful at it and you're awkward about it, but you're okay with your value, it's going to work. So that's the fundamentals of it. That's the core thing. It's like, am I actually worth this? Do I deserve this? Am I okay with am I going to provide value? Am I going to change these people's lives? Because if I'm not, then, you need to get in alignment with that and get in integrity and make sure that what you're doing is actually going to help people, actually going to serve people. Now, there is a way, I've got to preface this, there is a way to use your powers for evil, but I don't talk to those people about that. And there's lots of con men out there, and there's evil people who will very slickly and smoothly ask you for lots of money and with no intention of ever delivering any value. It's a very different strategy, not one that I talk about. So putting that aside, right?
Okay, right.
These are good people who really want to be in integrity. They're coming from the heart. They want to serve. They want to provide massive value and really change people's lives. And I know that's the people that you're speaking to, right? Absolutely. So it's like, that's the first bit. Make sure that you're clear that the value you're giving is extraordinary and you're going to change these people's lives. If you're not sure, DeMartini's got an amazing, Dr. John DeMartini, he's got an amazing process. He says, just write out 100 reasons why this is what they need to do, right? Anytime you want to raise something on your values hierarchy or rearrange your values hierarchy, write out 100 reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like think about doing that and say, oh, that's a good idea, Pat. Or it's not like write 10 and say, oh, I'll get back. It's actually sit down, schedule a time in your calendar right now and write out 100 reasons why you got to do this, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
If these people, and you've got your avatar, if this person, if this, Jenny that I'm talking to, who's my ideal client, doesn't buy my product or service, these are all the bad things that's going to happen. This is what's going to, this is the negative impact on her life. This is how she's stuck. This is all the problem. And if she does, this is all the good stuff that's going to happen to me, to her, to my family, to my lifestyle, to her lifestyle, to the ripple effect, to the community, to the global impact that we're going to have. And here's all the reasons why. Oh my God, she has to do this.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Right? Because I get goosebumps when I talk about it, because what that does, when that raises that on your values hierarchy, your creativity, your intuition, your genius will bring forth the words you need at the right moment to connect. Because Jenny is unique, and this conversation, this moment, and that time when it's happening, the words that I've used in the past that have been amazingly successful may not be appropriate. They may not be relevant. And you might just say, please pass the salt. And it might just be the perfect thing that she needs to hear. So be open to that. Right.
Nice.
Having said that, I'm going to give you some words as well. I'm going to give you some language.
Okay, great.
However, that's the first part, and it's the 95% of it. Like the words is like the 5%. So the other part is like your posture, and just breathe and just go. Just asking to pass the salt. I love that. I love that analogy.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
How easily do you do that at the dinner table? Oh, could you pass the salt? I mean, we really want people to be able to have that sales conversation in such a way that it's literally as easy as that, because you know that you need this particular condiment to make your experience even more enjoyable. So that's the similarity. Yeah.
So I'm going to give a couple of examples. Would that be helpful?
That would be very helpful. Yeah, just as we finish up today.
If I think back to our conversation, I think what actually happened was after we, explored your story and your big goals that you were trying to achieve and the challenges that you needed to overcome, I understood where you were at pretty well. And I knew iLab really well. So we went through a few of the things that's going to happen at iLab and this and that. And I said something like, Catherine, a blind man on a galloping horse can see that this is going to be a perfect next step for you. Let's get it done. Right? We're thrilled to invite you in. I'm super happy to apply this scholarship and let's go. And then I explained, here's what's going to happen next. Right? I'm going to confirm a few details, going to get your payment details. We'll get that into the system. And then so I'm prefacing. So you're imagining all this happening, right? Going to get your payment details into the system, your credit card or however you want to pay, you can sort that out. And, 8,000, whatever it was, the price. Then you'll get your invoice out from the receipt. I'm going to send you a welcome email confirming all these details with everything. And then you'll get a welcome email from the general manager of iLab, walking into the program and going through all the logistics of the thing. And then you'll get onto the monthly webinars with Roger leading up to the thing. And then you're going to get this. And then and finally you're going to meet you here in iLab. It's going to be amazing. And then you're going to go out and transform the world. Okay. Any questions about that process? Right. Let's do it. So first things, name, email, phone number, credit card, and it's just part of a process that I've already mapped out, so you know exactly what's going on.
Beautiful, yeah.
Right? So that's how I did it. I woke up in the middle of the night, I kid you not, like literally, hours ago, just a few hours ago, and I went, and we've just taken on a new girl. She's extraordinary. She's a body worker. She works with women and fertility, and she does amazing, intuitive, internal body healing work around fertility. And she said, look, Pat, I really want to learn to sell. I'd love to come and join your team and work with you guys. And, because I see this is what's holding me back in my business, and you guys are absolutely, amazing in this field, I want to work with you, and so that I can go out and have a greater impact in the world. I said, we would love to work with you. You're an extraordinary woman in your own right. What an honor. And I walked through, a couple of the closes, right? The final parts to the conversation that I use, and the ones that Josh and Brandon and some of our other guys use. And literally in the middle of the night, I woke up and went, that's the one Eva has to use. And it wasn't anything that anyone I know has ever said before. But and this is why I say it's who you are that matters. So I'll give you an example of this new one. We haven't tested this. I don't know if it's going to work. I know it's going to, but you know what I mean? We haven't actually tested it. We test everything, which is another important part. Remind me to get to test and measure as well. Super important. So when our first conversation with Eva, when I was recruiting and we were just having an initial conversation about, could we potentially work together? Is there a match? Which is all we're looking for in any sale, whether it's a recruitment sale, whether it's someone into our program, we're just looking for a match. And if we've got a match, then it's going to work out. And if we don't have a match, then let's not try and force it, right? Simple. So Eva said, when I heard about you guys from my friend and the work that you were doing, and now I've had this conversation and I check in with my body. Remember, she's a body worker. So she said, my body is a yes. And I don't really understand how it fits in with my business and my time schedule. And, you're in Bali and I'm just here on my honeymoon from Melbourne and I'm going to San Francisco and I don't know, but my body is a yes.
Right.
So I'm a yes, right? Because I have to listen to that. I have to honor that. And that's how she makes her decisions. And and it's amazing. It works out for her. And it's extraordinary what's unfolded in the last month since that conversation. It's just miracles have happened. It's amazing.
Love that.
So when Eva's going to be talking to people, I'm going to have this conversation with her in probably an hour or so's time. I'm going to suggest that just check in when you're having a conversation with someone. You understand where they're at. You've got their big goals. You've got their challenges. You know what they're working through. You understand the program. Check in with your body. And if your body's a yes, tell them, hey, listen, for me, my body's a yes. I'm happy to apply this scholarship. You're in, congratulations. And if your body's a no, say, listen, this is not for you. I'm sorry, we can't do anything. I suspect that's how Eva's going to do it, right?
Beautiful.
So the question is that you've heard how I do it. You heard how Eva, potentially will do it. The question is, how are you going to do this? What's the invitation going to look like? And really and the important part is the bit before the close, because everyone focuses on the close. The important part is, have they made that decision to transform this area of their life? Because if they've made that decision, they're naturally going to want to take some action. Right? As our friend says, the mark of a true decision. You never leave the scene of a decision without taking some action towards its attainment. Right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Big hands. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
So it's natural. It's what we're going to do. If they haven't made that decision to actually get this area of their life handled, the close is going to be very awkward because you're trying to get someone to take some action based on what? Based on your agenda? That's never going to work.
And I see this in that whole decision-making process. It's like when you make a decision, you make a commitment. You make a commitment to change. You make a commitment to doing things differently. You can make a commitment to moving things through faster. So I'm excited because I've got my event, actually my 3-day event on this weekend. I do it twice a year in New Zealand, looking to expand to other centres as well. But this one's in Auckland. Very, very excited to be bringing my team on to help me to reach more people and to make sure I don't leave any sales on the table. So what you've been taking today has been so invaluable, and I'm going to pass this information on to my team. I know my listeners are going to really benefit from the enthusiasm and the understanding that you've given us here today about closing of the sale. And you mentioned one more thing, and just as we wrap it up here, just in regards, you mentioned about testing and measuring.
Yeah,
I'm going to be absolutely honest here and tell you that as a people person, as someone that sits on the blaze side of the Wealth Dynamic profile, the testing and measuring side has just bored me to tears, only because there's been no point to it. It's like, what's the point? Does it mean I'm going to be able to, have more fun with my business? Answer is probably
yes.
Is linking it together so that actually there's fun for it. But I'd love to hear, because you're a blaze personality as well.
Absolutely.
You love to hear, how do you make testing and measuring something that is fun? How do you make it something that's important in the mind of the business owner? And what would you suggest, Patrick?
I'm going to make a note to come back to something else, and it's a cool question. So the whole thing about test and measure is that what you measure, you treasure what you measure. And I'll give you some examples again. It's probably the easiest way. We can go straight to it. So when I started this process, one of my early mentors had a very rigid structure for how we test and measure. We wrote out a script exactly, word for word. And if we stumbled over our words and said something that was like a funny little, we'd write that into the script and say it every time if it worked.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it was that precise. And then so imagine you've got a page down here. and you've got down one side of the page, you've got the script, and down the other side of the page, you've got a bunch of tick box, and every section of the script ended in a question. And if you've got a positive answer to the question, you put a tick in the box. If you've got a negative answer, you leave it blank. And if the conversation ended, then we could track where on the conversation we were losing people and where people were engaging. And it was it was so precise. And we go back and we look at the numbers and we go, okay, so this question, we're losing a lot of people right here. And then we look at, well, do we need to modify that question so that we can keep those people, or do we need to move that question up the script so we can lose those people sooner because they're not our client?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Right? So we've already 5 minutes into the conversation. If we could have asked that right up front and got rid of those people, we'd be on to someone who potentially was our client. Really, really powerful. In a face-to-face conversation, it's a little bit strange if you're sitting there going, okay, so no, tick. And then what about and so how do you feel about that? Okay, you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, right. So
what we're going to do is mental test and measuring. And you do this all the time naturally anyway. As much as you say, look, I'm not into test and measuring, you know that when you say something, you go, oh, that was a bit awkward. I probably won't say that again.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, that was great. I'm definitely using that story again. They loved it.
True. But I just want to come back to that little point that you said about, in person and the checking and what have you. When I first got started with closing sales and having the conversations, I would have a clipboard.
Yep.
And what I would do is I would say to them, so look, I'm so inspired by what you do and so interested in what you do. Is it okay if I just take a few notes?
Yep.
And then that way I don't miss anything later when I'm going back over them. And every time they'd be like, yeah. So what I would do is I would hold my clipboard in a way that they were close to me because they actually had the questions on them.
Yep.
So I could see actually how people could do that, where they can have the questions on one side and then the plus and the minus or the ticks and the crosses on the other side. Yeah, so interesting.
Beautiful.
Good.
The other way that I've seen that done really well is, look, just so we can get the maximum value out of our time together, we've only got a short time together, and I really want to serve at the highest level. I've just got a little checklist here. Would it be okay if we just went through the checklist?
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
And it's just, they've got some stuff here, right? I'm going to be reading. So there's a number of ways you can do that. And while I said, it might be a bit strange, a bit awkward, if you're on stage and you're reading from your notes, right? You got your PowerPoint and whatever. So there's different ways to do that for sure. But the main point is to make sure that you're following a bit of a process. You've mapped out what you want your conversation to look like and the different stages of the conversation. And this isn't, I've said this. It's they've felt that and they've had this experience and they've elicited that emotion. And you're not done with that stage until your prospect or your audience has experienced that specific emotion of that stage. And when they're done with that, then you go on to the next stage.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So if I ask you for your top goals and what is it you're really looking to achieve over the next 6 to 12 months, Catherine, you go, we want to make, $1 million. I'm going to go travel. And I say, well, that's great. I'm not feeling it, right? But if you say, then, we want to travel and we want to do, okay, that's great. So, and what else? Because I'm not done there. I could just go, $1 million and travel. And well, what I really want is to, pay off the mortgage and do some things and buy a new car. Oh, yeah, that's great. And well, what I really want is to get some, we want to have a child, or I want better connection with my husband, or I want to, right. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we've felt we've got some excitement. We've got, okay, now we can move on.
Nice.
Right. And just checking in, right? Again, different strategy from stage, right? Because you need your whole audience to feel something. There's a different way to do that. And, you're a master at that. So that's, I can't wait to see the
outcome. It's going to be exciting. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the process. It's like, say the same thing every time and check in your mind or on paper, ideally on paper, what's working and what's not working. Because otherwise you'll get to the end of the day and you'll go, I just don't feel like it's really working because you haven't tracked the data. Or you'll go, I feel like it's going great and you haven't tracked the data.
Okay, so there's one thing between the feeling and there's the actual side. Again, it's having the concrete information that says this is working or this is not working.
And I do it all the time.
Do you have a spreadsheet, something that you recommend to people to track sales conversations? Do you use any kind of...
It's as simple as a Word document with questions down one side and tick boxes down the other side. It's super simple. Just put it in a grid, put it in Excel, put it in, whatever. You can do it on a blank piece of paper or a notepad.
And then after that, do you put it into some kind of a project management system, email database system?
Lots of different things you can do with it. And again, the important part is to get the lessons. And once you've got that lesson, it becomes part of who you are. And for us Blazy types, I'm not going to get super huge into all the different ways you can track and analyze the data, but just get the lessons and go, see that thing when I said that, I'm going to lock you into 12 months of, right, that didn't work. So I'm not going to say that anymore. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I said, I'm really here to serve you and support you at the highest level. And I really want to have this work for you. Well, that worked really well. So I'm going to say that again.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just that kind of stuff, and just playing with the language, experimenting with it, but just making little changes so you can see where it's having the impact. And obviously, all that is, test and measure is all prefaced on the understanding that you're going to be having lots of conversations. If you're only having very few conversations, you're not actually engaging many prospects. There's not much to measure. You don't have a decent enough data set to kind of test anything against. You got to have some conversations. You got to get in the game. You got to actually do it. Right, that's probably the number one thing, is get in the game and actually do it. Now, that's for your people. For you specifically and your coaches who are going to be talking to your audience on the weekend, which is super exciting. There's a couple of things. I want to give you some really practical things just as we wrap up, so that they can go. There's going to be a couple of different people. 20% of the people that they're going to talk to are going to be ready to go. Don't fluff around with those people. Here's the form, fill it in. You're in. Congratulations. You're good to go. Right? And just, they're ready. Because if you start talking about goals and challenges and all the stuff, you're going to lose them. Right? Just go straight there. Another 20% you're going to speak to are never going to buy. They're going to waste all your time. Right? They're infrared victim mode. Life's happening to them, and they want to tell you all about their story and all the challenges and all the reasons why they can't, and they're difficult, and they're literally time vampires, and they're going to want to suck up all your time. And they've got beautiful stories, and they're lovely people, and we want to serve them, we want to help them, and we can't do it in an environment where we've got a limited time and limited opportunities. So identify those people quickly and book an appointment, or send them to someone else, or provide some resources for them, do something to serve them and move them on in a way that it's nurturing and honoring to where they're at, but without taking up volumes of your time, because otherwise you'll have 3 coaches talking to 3 victims, and that's the end of your sales, right? And I see it all the time. So really look out for those guys. The other part, you've got 60% who are just good, solid prospects who've got some questions and need a bit of a conversation about, hey, listen, love what Catherine was talking about on stage, love the program, all sorts of things, and is it relevant for me, is the question they're going to have. And am I worthy? Can I actually do this? Is this going to work for me? Is really what's going on for them. So I would say, don't answer the, hey, you can do this. Yes, this is going to work for you. I've bought programs in the past, and I just want to know why this one's different, because they didn't work, and is this one going to work? Well, the question, you're the consistent factor in your life. Take some responsibility. Well, how are you going to show up to have this work for you? You convince me, why are you ready now when you weren't ready before? And how has that been part of your journey that's led you to this place where you are ready now?
Beautiful.
Right? The one who's asking the questions is leading the conversation. If your prospect's asking the conversations, they're never going to lead it where you want it to go. Right? So take the power back in the conversation so that you can serve them better and support them better by asking quality questions. Have some questions prepared about, where are you at in your life right now? What's your affordability? What's your business? What are you trying to achieve? Right? How do you see this will work for you? How do you see this tying in with your goals? How do you see this helping you overcome your challenges? And let them sell you. Because anytime you start giving them those answers, you're pitching, they're not buying. Selling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
you're telling, not asking. Yeah.
Anytime, and it's different when you're presenting from stage. Obviously, completely different strategy, right? Because you can't be engaging in conversation. But when you're actually talking to someone, shut up and listen. Right? Now, if they've got specific questions about specific things, dates, prices, inclusions, answer their questions, and then ask a question like, does that make sense? Does that work for you? How do you see that? How could that, and you're looking for those clues that, I'm interested. This is going to work for me. This is going to be good. The other thing is that their ego wants to keep things the same. Right? It doesn't want to grow and expand and be extraordinary. It wants to want that. It doesn't want to have that. Right? What it actually wants to have is whatever it's already got. So whatever right now, whatever the status quo is for my life, we survived with that up until this point. So we want to keep that because it's going to keep us surviving, or at whatever level of the game we're playing the game at. We want to stay at that level. So if they're in this excited environment, just heard Catherine on stage, I've got all these people here and I'm full of emotion and I'm making this decision right now to transform this area of my life once and for all, don't let them go home and think about it. That's not going to serve them. Don't let them go home and talk to their partner or look at their calendar or check with their PA, or that's not going to serve them at the highest level.
Right, okay.
That we don't want to be pushy, arrogant, controlling, right? We're here to be supporting and loving and nurturing.
Yeah.
And to do that is whatever they're saying, understand that it's the ego's way of keeping them the same. And we can call them on that. Say, listen, you're here today because you want to get this area of your life sorted. Am I right? Am I right? Of course. Why else would you come? You invested your time to be here. You want to get this done. Your ego wants to keep you the same. That's okay. So, and you've got these logistical things that are real things in your life, which is about, you need to check with your partner. You need to make sure funds are available. You need to check with your calendar, your schedule, your timing. You need to make sure you can get time off work. You need to check with the babysitter. You're like, whatever. There's 1,001 things that it could be. It's all just logistical stuff. And if this was important to you, you know you get that sorted, right? So how long is it going to take you to confirm those things? Or you can do it tomorrow. Great. Let's get your payment details down. Let's get you in the program today. We're not going to process any money until Tuesday next week anyway. And if we don't hear from you by Tuesday, we'll assume no news is good news. You're good to go. You're in the program. You're changing your life. You're doing it because we know we need to get this commitment from you today for you to actually move forward. Otherwise, you're going to sell out on yourself like you always do, right? If you make that promise to me, you're probably going to honor it. If you make that promise to yourself, you're probably going to let yourself down as you always do. I don't want to let yourself down, right? So let's do it now. And if you need to go and talk to your partner and you need to check with your scale and you need to transfer funds and all the different things, if anything changes, let me know on Monday.
Okay.
We can change it. So we can cancel it. We can do whatever you need to do. That's fine. If you've got other questions, if your mum wants to come, whatever it is, we can do that on Monday.
Yeah.
Here's my number. Here's my Skype. Here's my email. I'll be available for you. No problem. It's all good. And if I don't hear from you Monday, we'll assume that no news is good news. Come Tuesday, you're in, you're good to go. But I need that. I need your credit card. I need your details now. I need your commitment now. This is not about money. This is not about payment. This is about you backing yourself, believing yourself, investing in yourself. And I need you to do that now to honor the people who are making that decision now, because come Monday, if you call me back and say you want to do it, this offer is not available to you anymore because I'm honoring the people who are taking action today because they're the ones I want to work with.
Beautiful, yeah, and I can feel how reassuring that is, just how full of confidence building that is, how it really helps them to make their decision. So, Patrick, it's been awesome having this time with you, and we could talk for ages more about this. And for those that do want to continue the conversation with you, Patrick, how could they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, probably the easiest is shoot me an email, patrick@resultsplatform.org. How else? You can find me on Facebook, Patrick James Woodcraft. You can contact me there, or yeah.
Well, what we'll do, Patrick, is we'll put those in the show notes for this so that people can.
So honestly, I'm looking for anybody who wants to develop their superpowers in communication, language, and really sell from the heart and use that for good. That's if people like that, happy to talk to them, happy to help them, support them on their journey, and help them to really do extraordinary things, because I know that the impact that I can have as a salesperson is in the people that I speak to. But if I can help other people to have a greater impact, then the ripple effect of that, we can change the world.
Awesome. Yay for changing the world. Let's do it.
Thanks so much for your time, Catherine. I've had an absolute ball. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah. It has been a ton of fun, and thank you for all that wisdom. I've certainly got a lot of notes to share with my team, and I'm looking forward to putting some of your tips and techniques into action. So thank you so much.
All the best. Have an amazing weekend.
Thank you.
See you, Catherine. Bye for now.